How's everyone feeling tonight in Tbilisi? Are you feeling inspired? Yeah. Well, my name is Ilona Limonta-Volkova, and it's my incredible privilege to be your MC for this evening. I am a founding partner of Armada Ventures, which is an early-stage venture capital and advisory platform focusing on early-stage founders across fintech and infrastructure globally. And tonight, we're going to be celebrating an incredible milestone occasion because this is the 10th edition of the 500 Global Eurasia Demo Day. Can we get a round of applause for that? Now, obviously, 10 is an incredible milestone, right? So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the significance of that number, especially as it relates to startups. Because you see, sometimes scaling to 10 is even harder than scaling to 1,000. For any of the founders in the room here, I want you to think about how hard it was to maybe get your first 10 free signups. What about your first 10 paying customers? Or even your first 10 hires, right? I'd be willing to bet that a lot of you heard 10 no's before you ever heard your first yes. But the beauty in that is that when you finally reach 10, you have incredible data. And I think that the data that the 10th edition of the 500 Global Eurasia Demo Day shows us is that talent is truly distributed everywhere you look. And I think that's something that's so personal to me about the topic of tonight's conversation, which is investing in overlooked global markets. Now, why is that really special to me? Well, I'll tell you a personal story. So the story of my life is really being an overlooked market. I was born in Cuba. My family immigrated to the United States when I was 8 years old, but not in somewhere cool or trendy like New York or California or Florida. No, we moved to Kentucky, the state of fried chicken, and it was quite an overlooked market. But in spite of that, I managed to build a career for myself, starting first in Silicon Valley before moving to Wall Street, eventually ended up in venture capital, and by the magic of the universe, getting on this stage tonight with you all here in Tbilisi. And at each part of the journey, I can't necessarily tell you that I was someone that people were really looking for. I mean, who's really looking for a venture capital investor in Kentucky? Not many people. But it wasn't because of a lack of talent or a lack of ambition. I want you all to realize that it's because it's a lack of attention that people have into systems that aren't familiar to them. People don't want to cluster around things that aren't similar to their cities or founders that they know or networks that they're familiar with. But if it's one thing that I've learned in my time covering some of the most exciting fintech fundraising announcements in my Forbes column or talking to some of the most brilliant tech minds of our generation for my podcast is this. Talent is distributed equally, but opportunity is not. And I think that's why you have so many incredible founders and teams building in markets where maybe not a lot of people are looking. So they're building in places like Tashkent. They're building in cities like Bratislava. And naturally, they're building in incredible cities like Tbilisi. And that's the thing, is that a lot of traditional venture capital doesn't really pay attention to these types of places because they're busy investing in and looking at cities that they're really familiar with, the San Franciscos, the sectors that they know already. But you know what's been happening this whole time? Founders in Eurasia have been building incredible companies, and 500 Global has been backing them. Today, the 500 Global Eurasia portfolio sits at more than 80 companies. Let's have a round of applause for that. And I think that 500 Global's attention to the region is something that we should all focus on. And speaking of attention, a little bit of audience warm-up. For how many of you all is it your first time in Georgia? I'll raise my hand. Oh, wow, not a lot. Okay, welcome. Welcome to 3 of us. Welcome. What about, how many of you all is it your first time attending a 500 Global event? I'll raise my hand. Okay, I see some more newbies. I love that. This last question, I want you to know this is a very safe space, okay? So we listen and we don't judge. How many of you guys have never tried hinkali? It's okay, I'll close my eyes. Oh, okay, good. But don't worry, you're going to have plenty of time to not only try Hingari, but also get to know some of the incredible founders that are presenting their stories here in this magical city of Tbilisi here tonight. But before we get started, a couple of quick notes on programming. So the demo is going to go by incredibly, incredibly quickly, and I have no doubt that you all are going to want to connect with each and every single founder that's going to be up on stage. So in order to facilitate that, we're providing this handy QR code that you can see behind me. Take a moment, scan it, look at it. You'll also see that there's a nice run of show outlining, the programming for this evening, as well as at the bottom, all the companies that are going to be presenting. And I'd like to remind you all one more time to please silence your phones, or better yet, turn them off, because we really are thrilled to present some of the most incredible founders in the region with you all tonight. But before getting started, I want to introduce a man who has been championing and advocating for this region tirelessly for a while. A man who is so well known that he only needs one name to be introduced. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Pedro, for a partner at 500 Global.
Jokes aside, I do want to celebrate. We definitely came a long way in Georgia and in the broader region with our program, with our funds, and we are definitely very, very proud to stand here tonight and present a few more companies that we are adding to our portfolio. Before that, as you know, our endeavor here, our achievements here would never be possible without the partnerships that we have here with JITA, with the Bank of Georgia. So I would also like to ask you for a round of applause, because without them we wouldn't be in this amazing, amazing venue. I hope the people that are watching us also online, hundreds of people online, can still at least get a little bit of the feeling of that we're experiencing here in this amazing Rustaveli Theater, who's become a home basically for most of our demo days. Tonight's theme is built where others aren't looking, and this has been always at the core of our mission. And what we want to show tonight, and we will continue showing over a long period of time, is that more and more there's very interesting and compelling and successful companies being built in markets that are not the markets that are getting the attention. And founders in these markets, they're using their deep technical talent, capital efficiency, and local insights as their real competitive advantage. And so what you will see here tonight, the companies you will see here tonight, are the best proof that exceptional founders can build global companies from overlooked markets. 500 knows this story very well, because we've been doing this around the world for a long time. We've invested in more than 3,000 founders from more than 80 countries, covering every single continent. And our programs, our funds have often been at the inception of these tech ecosystems. And Eurasia is the most recent example of that. We've already invested in 85 companies, as you heard before, and those companies represent more than 20 countries in the region. And the interesting part for us as an accelerator and fund is that they have grown their revenue more than 10 times after joining our program, reaching close to 50 million in annualized revenue. A third of them has raised capital soon after the demo days. 10 of them raised more than $1 million after demo day. And the more impressive metric for me as an investor, as a portfolio manager, is that they've raised 7 times more capital than the one we invested in them. And to me, that's strong evidence that the investors outside the region are paying attention to what's being built here. And we will continue making our efforts to increase that attention here. Before I go on with the program, I want to also highlight a new initiative that we're launching in Georgia in partnership with JITA, which is the Georgia Startup Academy. You see, while the flagship accelerator, of which you'll see the companies here tonight, is focused on companies that are spanning across all of Eurasia, and we're supporting companies that are already gaining and demonstrating traction, the Georgia Startup Academy will focus on founders that are stemming from Georgia and are starting at an earlier stage. And so if you are building if you validated a product, if you're building your MVP now, if you're starting to test your MVP, the Georgia Startup Academy is now taking applications for the next phase of the program. So if you're one of those founders or if you know one of those founders, please scan this QR code and apply. And without further ado, I want to wrap this up with expectations for tonight. As I said, our demo days are not pitch events. There's a theme to them, and we try to create interesting content around them, which we hope is valuable for the audience here and for the audience online. And tonight's theme, as I've mentioned, built where others aren't looking for, starts with where the venture math works. And that's the first panel with international investors that will discuss openly the advantages and the challenges of using capital efficiency, local talent, and emerging markets as an advantage. And they will discuss how the emerging markets, like this one, are becoming more and more a source of alpha for investors. And then we'll have a second panel where we'll switch from the investor case to the founder's lens. And we'll have founders and operators who have grown their companies across multiple markets, discuss also openly the challenges, but the advantages also of growing companies from these markets. And so these two panels together will make the theme of the night, proving first that this emerging market concept is where investors can find alpha, and that founders that grow their companies from these markets can use them as strong, terrific launch pads for global companies. So that's the expectation for the night. I will leave you to it. Ilona will continue.
Awesome. Well, I know that Pedro did a great job of teeing up the rest of the conversation for this evening. But while we're setting up, I thought I'd tee up a little bit more in the context for the next group of panelists. If you all remember the time in 2021 for fundraising, you might remember an era where founders were basically able to raise capital by writing down an idea on a napkin, sitting at a coffee shop somewhere near Stanford University, and calling it a day. But today, in 2026, that is no longer the case, right? So the goalposts of what venture capital investors are looking for have moved significantly. And here to discuss what are those new metrics that teams are looking for in founders, whether it's retention, revenue growth, sustainable scale, and et cetera, are some of the esteemed panelists for this evening. And these are people that spend their entire days looking for exactly these types of opportunities, right? So they're going to share where they're finding them, what challenges are remaining, and why overlooked markets can be extremely fertile grounds for alpha, which is definitely the topic of tonight's conversation. So please join me in welcoming tonight's panelists, Theodora Atanasova, Philip Jungen, Ekaterina Gianelli, Yassin Ehsan, and Tamar Menteshashvili.
Thank you for joining and welcome to our panelists. We'll discuss capital efficiency today and really whether great companies come from emerging markets and they don't need like great valuations or big funding rounds to be effective. So I would like to start with requests to briefly introduce yourself and tell me your scope of work at the moment.
Okay, I'll be the first one. Very nice to be here. This is my first time I'm attending the event organized by 500 Co. Thank you for inviting us. I'm actually more than a decade in crypto industry, and I have not been living in Georgia for 12 years, and finally I'm moving back. excited to see a lot of familiar faces. And yeah, I've been working and building in many organizations within that decade, including Binance, including CoinMarketCap, Solana. Yeah, I think, and I'm in academia as well, I'm actively pursuing that angle as well.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, my name is Yassine. I'm from San Francisco. I have my own company. It's called Headstarter. We have 100,000 engineers across the world from 135 countries. They use our product. It's like a coding agentic platform where you can build projects using your voice. We have engineers on our platform that started companies, raised like $25 million seed last week. Many of them got into YC or Speedrun, and the very best of them, I put them into a house in San Francisco. We have 10 companies that got into YC or Speedrun in the last 1 year. Many of them have raised seed rounds of like 2 to 11 million. And I'm also an A16Z scout, and I actively post content on LinkedIn. So everyone here, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I have about 50,000 followers.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here. My name is Ekaterina Gianelli, and I'm investing with Calmstorm. It's a European fund focused on healthcare or health tech. I've been now in the European tech for about 20 years, the first part or the first decade building different tech businesses, and then now close to 15 years on the investment side. So for a long time, I was a general partner of InVenture. It's a Nordic venture capital firm, almost $500 million under management today, investing in different tech companies. Volt, for example, is one of the companies that we preceded very early days that you probably know. But pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you.
Hi, I'm Philip. I'm actually excited to be here. It's, I think, my 10th my 10th time in Tbilisi. I'm always excited to be back. I'm a venture partner at ScaleX. I've been angel investing in the Baltics, Nordics, and CE for probably almost 12 years. I'm an LP in a few funds, and I'm also the chairman of the Red Cross Pension Fund in Germany. Again, I'm German. Excited about CE because the talent density. I might disagree. I think that has been said earlier that talent is distributed equally. I think the technical talent in this region is much more dense, but I probably leave it to the discussion.
Thank you very much. We have just 20 minutes, and you have quite diverse backgrounds and interesting things to share, so feel free to disagree and interrupt each other. Let's make it as dynamic as possible. I would like to go back in time and maybe think about what has changed in the venture scene for the past couple of years. What is one assumption about building or investing in startup that no longer holds true? Philip, maybe you can start.
So, overall, looking back in the past 10 years, local markets are relatively irrelevant. The most successful companies I've seen and backed are companies where maybe the first customer was just in the same co-working space, but customer number 2, 3, and 4, they're not even on the same continent. This is not true for all lines of businesses, but if you've been building a CRM system, if you've been building some kind of ERP solution, you have to build companies globally day one. This is not the same if you're building a regulated business. But this is where most of the Eastern European founders have been very successful.
Maybe to continue on that, I think for me, when I look into any tech ecosystem, I usually look into 3 things. One of them being the talent. The second one is funding or access to funding, and then the third one is access to customers. And then if I maybe reflect on our journey in the Nordics, because of course in the Nordics, when I started investing in Finland, it was very much an emerging market as well. We had no access to capital. We have no access to customers. It's a tiny ecosystem. No one wants to build for local markets.
Still tiny.
It is still tiny. But the best founders actually thought, like you said, thought global from the very beginning and managed to turn our disadvantages into advantages for themselves by building for the global markets and by raising capital elsewhere. And I think that basically acts as a catalyzer to the whole ecosystem, as in the first founders have to force themselves out of the local markets and raise abroad and build abroad, and then slowly it starts creating this flywheel of everything, talent, capital, etc. And now I think Georgia, or this region, is probably more or less where we used to be back then, hopefully doing everything much faster, given you can raise capital now much easier. But to me, it's basically following the same journey as what the Nordics have done.
Thank you, Yasin.
Yeah, so the Cursor headquarters is 2 blocks away from where I live. And so last year, the head of ML at Cursor, and they have like 10x their team size. The team was a lot smaller last year. He came to our house and he gave a talk to like 50 of the smartest engineers we found in San Francisco. And I remember him saying something very interesting. He said, we live in such an interesting time where as a startup, you can get to 100 million or $1 billion in revenue, but you don't know whether or not you'll exist next year. Legit. And that was literally in the predicament they were. If any of you guys here ever use Cursor, if you have employees or founders use Cursor, you know that Cursor was like made it from their model called tab. You would click on tab and fill out the rest of the character. But very quickly that became obsolete. And for the earlier part of this year, I thought Cursor was dead actually, because everyone was using Claude Code and maybe Opus 5.5 High. And so they've shown again and again, it's actually never about your idea because everyone has great ideas. And today's world, your execution also doesn't matter. What you can build with a dev shop back in India, I can probably write in 5 prompts and run a loop between them. What really matters is your ability to identify markets and move very quickly with very, very smart people and wait for luck. And luck happened to Cursor. They just got quiet, right?
Always part of the equation.
Yeah, I think for us, I speak from Web3 and crypto industry perspective when I talk now about it, right? I think it's very unique angle because the whole promise was pretty much democratizing access for emerging markets to the capital markets, but also we've seen from day one in crypto that all the big founders and incredible projects, it really didn't matter where they were coming from. Actually, some of the biggest projects early stage were created by anonymous founders. That's probably not the case right now anymore, but I think our industry definitely proved that if you have a strong product market fit, and especially user experience side is strong, I think global access is a real thing. So not only the founders were international from day one, but also the capital that invested in it was very diverse, as well as the user base that brought completely different feedback loops on the product. So it kind of self-fulfilled the cycle, and it became bigger and bigger. Like example is Binance, for example. The founders don't have anything to do with US. Actually only negative context connection in US, but they became one of the largest international organizations that you can see in the industry.
Everyone talks about capital efficiency. Let's brainstorm a bit on that. Ekaterina, could you please tell us what does?
Yeah, maybe just quickly to build on top of what you said, Yasin, because I was thinking that, well, you mentioned that luck plays a huge role, and of course it does play a huge role, but I think execution matters a lot. And of course, with experience comes this, this ability to quickly go to product market fit, and I think this is actually super important. Once you do it for the first time, it takes a lot of time. Once you do it for the second or third time, it usually happens much quicker. So I'm still a big believer in well, execution or having experience from doing it once or twice before starting something or before getting into a proper scale.
Yeah, I mean, I agree as well. I think like the execution is to failure. So you want to fail quickly, so you know like what not to do, and identify like new markets, because every one of your businesses that you're pitching today is going to pivot. That's guaranteed. When an investor invests in you, especially in Silicon Valley, they never think your business is successful. That's why they invest in you. They're investing in you because they think you're very smart and you've shown traction in like a short period of time, and you can take the resources that you've given and you can quickly dominate that market or find another market.
And maybe to answer then your question, I think capital efficiency and having small local markets as the context, If I think once again about the journey of Volt and how they have started, I mean, the market was definitely there. It was not a new market. There were plenty of companies in food delivery, so they weren't doing anything unique. But I think they were obsessed about how they execute on their strategy, and they were obsessed about actually getting the unit economics right. And I think that obsession took them really far. They started from a small market in Finland, and then they continue going to smaller markets, including Georgia, actually. And that actually gave them time to make sure that the unit economics are bulletproof. And then it was so much easier for them to raise money comparing to the competition. So I think in my head, again, this obsession with execution at the early stage, once you get into product market fit, is actually very important. Or that's something that I would want to see as a venture capitalist.
What about you, Philip?
Yeah, I think execution is more important. So I think capital efficiency was always like a feature of Eastern European founders, but it has become irrelevant with like AI now, because it's not that much more expensive like to pay one guy to build like a full product in a week in San Francisco versus Prague or Tbilisi. So execution has become more and more important. So that's like bad news for everyone that hope to like get a cheap deal in Eastern Europe, but it also because you cannot just throw bodies at a problem, right? That was like the deal 10 years ago. Like you get more technical talent to work on one problem. Now you need just one person, but now the talent is more important. This one person or the two people that are actually starting a company.
What do founders at emerging markets have today that they didn't have a couple of years ago?
Sorry, couldn't hear the question.
What do founders have today at emerging markets that they didn't have a couple of years ago, from your perspective, especially someone local?
I think the time when let's say valuations of US companies are crazy right now, and there's a huge disproportion, right? But in the sense with also AI coming to everybody's life, I think the access to the global talent, where if you're a founder sitting in Georgia, you have access to not only the talent in your country, but multiple different places. The capital access is there as well for you. I don't think it was there before, that concept of being the US founder, and only then you were able to raise huge amount of capital based on the crazy valuations. I think, at least in what I see in my industry, is not there anymore. And we've seen many emerging markets actually, startups from Dubai or startups from like some of the Southeast Asian markets, they are able to really prove their product market fit, have substantial numbers, and then come and raise follow-up rounds with pretty good valuations. So I think emerging market founders are in much stronger position now than they've ever been.
Yeah, I want to answer your question about capital efficiency. So, about last week, 6 days ago, Satya Nadella dropped an incredible article around token management. So we all know what human capital is. Human capital is using your resources to achieve a certain outcome. It could be at the national level, it could be at the startup level, it could be at an enterprise level. And he highly encouraged different companies, predominantly Fortune 500 companies, but it goes on to like startups as well, especially those building for the future era, to think about token capital. And he talks about token capital as in like, how much are you spending, how quickly you're spending, how is your spending being done, what are the different workflows you're automating, what are the incremental judgments that you are adding to your system that is going to make your thing more efficient. So just to put a real life example to this, one of my roommates, he used to work under Karpati. He dropped out of law school and he completed YC, raised some seed money. Last week, he himself spent $7,000 on Cloud Code. So he's obviously like coding at a different pace, but he wrote so much. He was supposed to even do sales. It wasn't his job to do coding. He was a sales guy, and his co-founder is a coding guy. But he never showed up to office. He's stuck in his room just coding. And he comes up with something. This is not just for startups, right? who have raised funding, but also like at companies. Like NVIDIA blew its whole 1-year budget in 1 quarter, and many other companies are also doing this. Sometimes they're even restricting Claude. So it's not, a lot of the future development now is going to be around how do you manage your token and how do you actually use your resources regarding tokens to utilize as a tool to achieve a certain outcome.
I mean, yes, but it's not new, right? Because it's like a few years ago, it was about, cloud infrastructure. Like, how do you make sure, like, you're using cloud infrastructure, as efficient as possible, coming from service to cloud. So I think you always have this, like, new type of, kind of problem you have to solve. But your previous question was, like, what do founders in CE, what they don't have is still a structured access to early capital. Because local ecosystems only work if I mean, you mentioned talent and funding, but funding at the inception point is probably most critical, and that's the only thing that is not accessible in every city or every ecosystem. To your point, when you have like an early success case, what happens is you have a lot of people that made money on stock options, that made money because they sold a business. What they mostly do, sadly not in Germany, they buy real estate, but in other countries, especially in the Baltics, they have reinvested the money in the tech ecosystem, so they're giving back. And out of this, they created like other companies and funds that, maybe something what Pedro is doing, here, is exactly what you need in order to kick off an ecosystem, like structured, like an infrastructure, which is backing founders at the inception point.
Giving back is definitely one of the steps you might.
I think your mic is off. But we heard the question. So the question was if there are any other practical steps. And I think, well, Philip already opened up on the funding side. I also think it's still an issue. But that is being fixed already. I think the other thing is still access to customers. Again, I would encourage everyone to build global from the very beginning. What we very often see in big European markets like Germany or France is that people start in the local ecosystem and they get stuck in the local ecosystem. While the best founders from the Nordics, the Baltics, and all the smaller markets, they actually start very early building in different ecosystems. And Israel is, for example, a good example of that founders start in Israel and the US right away and build basically for the global markets. So I think I would definitely recommend that. Not, of course, Georgia is a great market to trial things, but I would go global as early as possible.
What would you say from your?
Yeah, just a quick question on the cloud thing. So before I started my company, I was a senior ML engineer at Capital One, where I filed 2 patents on saving cloud costs. My company will spend $300 million in AWS and GCP, and I helped my team save more than 50% on cloud costs. AI is going to be completely different. The S-curve on this technology is like nothing before, and the impact it will have to not just like companies, but to society is going to unfold in the next 5 to 10 years. Like the effect that it has on people who know how to use AI and use it on a day-to-day basis versus people who don't is going to be massive. And I don't think jobs are going to go away. I think more jobs are going to be created. And this is the hypothesis supported by Satya Nadella, Jeff Bezos, and several others. Regarding the emerging markets question, if you look at like last year or earlier this year, the first person to make nearly $1 billion in revenue came as a solo founder. He was creating, and he had a bunch of agents, like open cloud agents. I believe he was in Canada, I'm not sure exactly where. He had his little brother help him out. But he was creating, if you guys know what Ozempic, the drug is, he created a version of Ozempic. And he used his agents to like do like every single task possible. And he would market it on Facebook in a little bit controversial way. He had like 10,000 fake doctors market it on Facebook. But he got to $1 billion in revenue. It's crazy. He undercut the entire market. And I think the really cool thing is with AI, for people who are in emerging markets, is a technology like this will democratize access, right? And so if you know what you're doing and you have a really strong go-to-market motion and play, you can really grow quickly. And that is something that you yourself have never witnessed, neither the entire region may have ever witnessed. And that is a superpower that you all have today.
Unfortunately, our time is running short. Maybe I'll give you the opportunity to answer. And
I would definitely agree with you that building from day one for global audience is really important. I don't know how much you guys know about tokenizing equities on chain, but that is something that every startup founder, I think, should look into, which solves the other problem that we raised earlier, the early access to the capital. Where actually founders from day one kind of leverage their strength of product and the community power behind it, and are able to slowly, step by step, raise the funding. I mean, don't get me wrong, there have been many years of different like token sales that went pretty wrong, but I think what we see for the last 2 years is a lot of regulation, and the clarity around it is actually happening, especially on US side as well. And a lot of things on the emerging markets also are developing. So definitely look into tokenizing equities on chain and how you can tap into the global capital from day one of your startup existence. That's how I would end this conversation.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you for joining this discussion, and let's continue it outside.
Hey, Tbilisi, how are we feeling? Woo! Well, we're about to enter one of the most exciting parts of this evening, which is the Startup Demo Day. And so a quick note on programming. We are going to divide our startup presentations into 2 batches. So batch 1 is going to start in a couple minutes here, which is going to be including founders from this current cohort of Demo Day, as well as a previous cohort. Then we're going to dive into another panel and wrap up with another set of batches. So I want you to promise me that you're going to keep your energy high for these founders. Do you promise me that? Yes. Now, I know that the founders that are about to take the stage have been working so very hard to be here with you tonight. I got a chance to sit in on some of their practice sessions, and let me tell you all, they have been working so very hard, and they're so excited to tell their incredible stories with you tonight. So, to make this a little bit more fun, and for you all to also get a little bit of a taste of the personality and what's behind some of these companies, the founders have done 2 things. First, they've all picked a walk-on song. And second, they've shared, yeah, I know, there's some really exciting walk-on songs, so I'm really excited for you to hear some of them. And the next thing they've done is also shared a couple of really fun facts that I'm going to tee up before they come on stage. So, with that, I'm going to kick us off tonight with a founder who previously spent 7 years in Australia, where she developed multi-million-dollar real estate projects. Today, she's building in a slightly different arena. Please welcome Alina Golubeva of Carpathia Benefits.
Danone, Michelin, Glovo, Forbes, 4 global brands, 1 benefit system. Ours. Over 10,000 employees across 100 companies trust Carpathia with benefits. We bootstrapped to $45,000 in MRR, with churn just over 1%. Let me tell you why. Companies invest billions in benefits because benefits stopped being nice to have. They became the norm. But benefits differ by country, scattered across vendors, spreadsheets, and policies no one reads. So they go unused in the exact teams companies bet their growth on. Carpathia solves this. But our typical client loses $150,000 a year, replacing people who left over benefits. And Carpathia fixes this. Where the benefits are ass, for companies that work across the globe. With us, HR builds a benefit system within days, not months, while employees access all of their benefits in one place. With Carpathia, engagement triples. 94% of employees use their benefits, compared to the industry average of 30%. We make money two ways. $1.50 per employee per month, plus 5 to 20% on every marketplace transaction. And our team is perfect to scale this. I previously built an InsurTech product to 15 million GMV in 3 years. Michael ran loyalty programs for Ferrari and Revolut, while Dmitra shipped products for Barclays and NBC Universal. We're going after the 20 billion cross-border segment as the only benefits platform built for global distributed teams from day one. Benefits are not a perk anymore. They are how companies like Danone, Glovo, and Forbes keep their best people. Will you keep yours?
What a way to start off the evening. So, our next founder was a lawyer, an engineer, and also an actor in a film that premiered in Cannes. So he clearly had a great amount of choices to choose in his career, but thankfully for us, tonight he chose startups. Please join me in welcoming Maciej Szynkiewicz of ComplyBridge.
EU financial firms will spend $250 billion on compliance over the next 2 years. And the money doesn't even buy them safety. Even with a dozen tools, costly lawyers, and consultants buried in PDFs, firms still fall behind. And many shut down because they can't keep up. That's why we built ComplyBridge, one compliance operating system for all financial regulation. As a foundation, we connect three things that have never talked to each other: the live EU rulebook, your own data, and the data from your third-party vendors. With this engine, we answer any compliance question in seconds. We make client onboarding frictionless, and we build your license applications automatically. Our customers across Europe are already seeing their compliance burden decrease by up to 70%. And they are getting compliant in weeks, not months. Even a major European bank wants to be a design partner. It is quite a large market, yet we're the only ones running the whole regulatory stack automated in one platform. It is a new category, and we own it. We are the right team to do it. I am Maciej, and together with Kenneth, we built and exited a fintech that ran its MiCA license application ourselves. Our CTO spent 5 years shipping products at Facebook. Today, compliance shuts companies down. We don't think it should. With ComplyBridge, it won't.
Founder had the privilege of being featured in the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. But I think if you were to ask him the accomplishment that he's most proud of, he might tell you that it's being a Toastmaster. Please join me in welcoming Irakli Eliashvili from Whisper.
Worldwide, companies lose $136 billion a year to churn. And despite hundreds of tools, smarter targeting, automated campaigns, deeper personalization, and users still leave. Until now. Whisper is the proactive retention platform that helps you retain your customers with no human involvement. Whisper watches hundreds of signals on your every user. What they click, what they watch, for how long. It compares those patterns against your most successful users. It knows when your customers are heading for churn even before they do. Then it picks the right message, writes in your brand's voice, and sends it on a channel they open. It measures the results and adjusts. Every cycle makes it better, so your retention keeps climbing the longer Whisper runs. And this is not a theory. For 200,000 users, we grew retention up by 32%. For our partner 1 million ARR business, we are projected to protect $121,000 for next 12 months. And this is just one business. There is 190,000 more just like it. It's a $2.5 billion opportunity. We've done this before. I've built a subscription app that is profitable today. Georgi owns our product and partnerships. David owns our backend. Now, we are building a company that gets retention right. We are not building a way for you to win your customers back. We are building a way for you to never lose them. That's Whisper.
About you all, but that song always gets me ready to hype, ready to rumble. So, our next founder was publishing research and making discoveries in mathematical theory way before most of us even knew what mathematical theory was. I don't know about you, but when I was a teenager, I definitely was not doing any of that. But please join me in welcoming Aziz Ahmedhojayev of Cerberus.
Global losses from cybercrime just hit $10 trillion a year. If cybercrime would be a country, it would be the world's third largest economy. And cybersecurity teams can't keep up. For one cybersecurity team, there are hundreds of hackers that are trying to break in simultaneously. So the industry built tools that teach AI to do security testing, replacing manual work with automation. But general AI has one fatal flaw. You can't trust it with your vulnerabilities and confidential data. You let it in, and it will hallucinate and cause damage, to shut down your service, delete your database, and even wire out funds. I'm Aziz, founder of Cerberus. At 17, I made a breakthrough in the field of safety of programming languages. I also founded and ran Central Asia's top cybersecurity firm, consisting of ethical hacking champions and researchers, and securing over 300 projects in 3 years. And when LLMs came out, our team realized that we can use this discovery to secure AI agents in a way that no one else has. We created the world's first AI ethical hacker that can not only fully autonomously hack your application within hours, but also is mathematically guaranteed safe. We created a totally new programming language, specifically for ethical hacking, where every instruction our AI takes must get a mathematical proof of safety. With Cerberus, it cost us only $8 and a few hours to hack a medium-sized web application, compared to over $5,000 and weeks of manual work. This is how a team of 5 people does the work of 100. With zero marketing, we've made over $150,000 in revenue. Our first enterprise license sold pre-launch, and over 15 banks are in pilots. The market is 39 billion today, and it's going to be 82 billion by 2030. AI hackers are coming, and only one can turn against you. That one is Cerberus.
Our next founder is a father of four, a bodybuilding champion, a computer scientist, a restaurateur, and according to his bio, he's the proud owner of 16 fingers. Please welcome Adilit Zakiev of Resti.
$300 restaurants run on Resti. And for every dollar they spend on us, they get $6 back. I knew exactly what they wanted because I ran my own restaurants for the past 10 years. And here's the challenge. Employees are overpaid, food cost is out of control, training inconsistent across locations. And there are hundreds of other things you're barely managing. I tried every tool to fix it. And every single one of them failed me the same way. None of them talk to each other. And I'm not alone. Restaurants lose $80 billion annually, not on empty tables, but on broken operations. And that's why we built Resti, an all-in-one restaurant management platform that connects to your POS. It powers your HR, reputation, finance, invoices, and so much more. We have no churn. 2,500 employees use Resti 6 times a day. And we're growing 40% month over month. We're currently operating in Kazakhstan, expanding to the CIS. Next, Armenia and Europe. I bring industry expertise, and Daniar brings the AI, being amongst the top 0.01% of people with the highest IQ in the world. We built the tool I needed for a decade. Now hundreds of restaurants run on Resti, and we're just getting started.
Some people watch sports highlights for fun. Our next founder analyzes companies and acquisitions in the exact same way. So don't be surprised the next time you have a casual conversation with him, it turns into a supercharged brainstorming session on how to build the next unicorn. Here to round out tonight's first batch of demo day presentations, please welcome Irakli Vekwa of Kings, a portfolio company from Batch 3.
2 years ago, we were in just one country. Today, we have 20,000 teachers and 500,000 students across 12 countries. Call me Irakli, and we are Kings, online academic competitions platform. Academic competitions is a 40-year-old industry, still on paper. Everything is offline. Results takes months. There is no incentives for teachers, no data. We solved all of that. We are running fully online academic competitions. No logistics. Teacher just registers their students, and we handle the rest. And we are paying them 8% of the revenue, which is our unfair advantage. And because everything is online, we are delivering to every parent personalized feedback, which is unheard of on this industry. So we are converting them at 50% compared to 2 to 5% industry-wide. First access is totally free. We show them what we can do, and €15 to continue is worth the value. Parents love us, and our partners are paying us for this access too. For example, Tether, the largest fintech in the world, is paying us for delivering financial education to 50,000 of our students. So we are not only competitions up anymore, we are distribution layer for education. Last year, we have €750,000 in revenue. This year, we'll hit 1.5 million. Every country we enter triples in revenue each semester. Let me repeat that. Every country we enter triples in revenue each semester. And we entered 8 new countries in the last 6 months. So we are on a clear path to 5 million in ARR for the next year. Today, we are on $3 billion market. Next is assessments and STEM academies, which is opening a $50 billion opportunity for us. And we have the right team to capture that. We have been working together for 12 years, sold together 2 edtech companies, and we own the road into these classrooms. Now we will own the future of learning into them. Thank you.
And what an incredible variety. You have some companies that are scaling to 5 million in ARR, some who are just starting on their journey. I learned about ethical hacking. We have other companies building for restaurants, so real kudos to the 500 Global Eurasia team for putting together such an incredible diversity and assortment of incredible founders in the region. So let's give 500 Global Eurasia another round of applause. So as promised, before moving on to our second batch of founders, we have another panel to introduce for you all. So we talked earlier a little bit about the changing landscape of venture capital and how the goalposts for investing have really moved. But obviously, investors are only one part of the ecosystem. Founders play a really critical role. So this next conversation is called Built Where Others Aren't Looking, because it's about more than just geography. It's also about perspective and seeing opportunity where others see constraints, and building companies that are stronger because of it. So please join me in welcoming tonight's panelists, Sharon Goldstein, Dmitra Strelchuk, Stanislav Suchkov, and Denis Pandilak.
Good evening, everyone. What an incredible group of first founders. Just a little bit on our panel, we are not going to do introductions because we want to maximize our 15 minutes. So we heard from the investor community, from the VCs, on why this region is such a compelling place to invest. Now we want to talk about what it's like to actually build and scale here. So with that, I'm going to start with Dima. Investors talked about the power of talent with or without local capital. For the founders in the room, how do you think about building? What did you learn in your last process, and what advice do you have for them?
Gamar job, everyone. Thanks for invitation, Pedro and 500 Global team. Amazing venue, amazing event. So to answer your question, so I have 3 points. So one, I probably will add to what was mentioned before about like going global, like early. I think like super important point. If you look at Estonia, you know, the country which is like very small, having this disadvantage of no local market, but it actually became advantage, and we have examples like TransferWise, Skype, where like they go global straight away. Second point is having global talent as well. So for example, I'm Ukrainian, I live in London like for the last 10 years, but I know like, for example, there are many companies like from this region, from Ukraine as well, that they make the team very Ukrainian. Like, I think that, and it's quite hard to change it later on, and I think that it's good to have this like diversity of opinions and also build a global team like straight away. Third point, I think that probably what was also mentioned about tokenized stock options, but just in general, I think like what worked really well I see, but I still see some startups, they're a bit like shy of doing this, and there's like some regulatory complexity, but allowing for employees to share the success through like stock options, I think it's like something that like give another level of motivation, and I think that this worked really well.
Great. Dennis, you mentioned a few things when we talked about, you're set, about what makes building here different than building in other places. Can you share that with the group?
Yeah, building in, I'm from Slovenia. Building in Slovenia, being a very small market, makes you think global from the start if you want to build a startup. I would say, compared to our Western colleagues, Western Europe and USA, specifically CE region wants to build everything by themselves. One thing is, I don't think we can afford as much as our Western colleagues. And then there's also the mentality of we want to do everything ourselves, which gives us, on the long term, better control over the technology. And to your previous question, what we've learned in the last 3 years of building a startup is that, well, you can now source people from everywhere, and we are utilizing this as much as possible. Yeah, but the main thing is we want to do everything ourselves.
And what is the disadvantage of that?
Well, obviously, it's a build or buy question, right? Most of the people and founders that I know don't have the financial leverage that they can pull on, so you pull on your own time and your own resources. And sometimes you just need to go with the head through the wall, and CE region is known for that.
Got it. Okay. Stan, so there's an expression, go big or go home. And I think that's about figuring out what's the big enough problem to go solve, that it grows to the sizes that we're looking at, right? Tell us about the problem that you went after that nobody else was solving for. How did you see it? What did you see that other people missed? Tell us about that journey.
Well, first of all, if you're on a seed stage or even pre-seed, you should risk a lot, because either you go big or you just go to work in any corporate. And that's what we did. So we pivoted 3 times, and we tried to find our unique product proposition and unique go-to-market for 3 years. And we couldn't even generate revenue. But we tried hard, just pivoted and pivoted and pivoted. So I think that we were lucky. Actually, someone mentioned that you need to have some luck. So we have found it, and we looked at the place no one looked at. So we've solved a really small problem, but for enterprises. And it was our backdoor to get inside and later on upsell. This is the first thing. And if you are talking about the places you should look at where no one watches, Central Asia and CIS region is really good for that. Because, for example, we also have a client, Danone and other enterprises, and it's easier to get these sort of clients here than even if you live next to their headquarters in Europe, for example. But if you show value here in this region, you will be easily transmitted and moved to their headquarters. And that is why I think this is a great market, and there are a lot of opportunities. Many startups don't take into consideration when they make some sort of decisions where to go, where to start.
Great, thank you. Dima, tell us how Revolut went after this.
Okay, been global.
Oh, just how you approach product market fit. Yeah.
So I think that I'm glad to see that there's a lot of media coverage of Revolut right now. Like it became like quite big company. So, but to rethink what was the start. So basically, company was started in United Kingdom, and basically, company decided to find like one problem and specific problem and solve it like really well. And that problem was basically in UK. You have their own currency, British pound. people quite wealthy, they travel a lot, and if they go abroad and they spend money by their card, the exchange rate that is used by banks is not very good. They were losing like around 8 or 10% of their fund just because of that in a very non-transparent way. So this was the initial motto, and I think that this was the first product. And yeah, basically it was very relevant. And then later on, once you have the customer base, you can add many more things, and you can see if any of you have Revolut up, how many buttons we have there and how many products, and we'll have more.
All right, changing gears for a minute. Dennis, I'd love to hear about your fundraising journey and what it looked like both to try to raise here and to raise in other Western countries, what that looked like, what you learned, and what recommendations you would have for the founders who are here.
It was tough. We just closed a seed round, 1.3 million. It was one of the toughest periods for me personally, for sure. Also for the company, arguably. I think the main issues from raising here is what is now changing a little bit, which is there is not a lot of access to the early stage capital. I see positive changes in the market. Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, it's all happening, but it's still not at the level where it could be. The talent is here, obviously, as we talked about it. What were the challenges? Well, the big thing was obviously the education of myself personally about how the fundraising works, the journey I had to go through, and just access to the information where something is really easily accessible. Here is not that easily accessible. Other things, if you have a VCs in this part of the world, what I have experienced is that they're, because of the lack of market development on the startup side, they're not really keen on investing actually in the local companies. And I kind of understood that somehow, or felt that. So I didn't even bother with raising from the local VCs first. I just went Europe first from the start. So I spoke with funds from UK, Nordics, Spain, basically anyone and everywhere. Really did a lot of conversation, and then not strategically, but then just kind of naturally got back into my own environment. And then I raised from the Croatian VC. And that experience actually allowed me to then dictate the terms much better and just understand the whole negotiation game in a much better way. Having gone through the journey of speaking with a lot of VCs by that time. So yeah, that was the journey. Now we're on to the second part.
Well, congratulations on the money. And tell us a little bit more about what you learned and what you wish you had known when you started that journey that you learned along the way.
The big thing is that negotiation is a game of leverage. So you should always try to create a process where you are able to get to the multiple competing offers. Not just with fundraising, it goes with everything in life. It's a game of leverage in the negotiation space. When I came back and started speaking with the local VCs, and I had multiple conversations happening also with Silicon Valley VCs. I mean, the whole conversation and the tone of conversation immediately changed. Now suddenly what I was speaking made sense. Previously, it was quite a lot of simply being discarded. But yeah, nonetheless, part of the game. What else? Couple of good things. So the game of leverage is the biggest one. Also, how to design the process. You need to know your network before that. Prepare the network. Do the preparation is 70% of the whole game. And now I was able to having done the journey, being a witness of my angel investor having closed the round in a week because they have the network, they know the process, and then it becomes quite simple, to be honest. But having gone through this for the first time, it's really eating glass for quite some time.
Thank you. I will say from my own experience in advising founders on their fundraising that the biggest mistake I see is not batching your fundraising, right? You're talking about leverage, and if you don't align all of the investors to be giving you term sheets at the same time, then you lose that opportunity. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about AI and how it impacted your businesses when you started it. There's been so many changes, how it's impacting your scale, and how you're thinking about it going forward.
Can I add not about AI, but about previous question, but
Please.
I'll let guys to talk about AI.
Yeah.
So one thing what is really cool and like what helps in fundraising is like do train, like your presentation, like even if you are not confident internally, you should look confident. Like kind of like fake it until you make it in a good way. And what was cool to see today, like all presentation, like they were like top notch, and it was like looks like really good help and preparation from 500 Global. So just want to add to this, and I'll let guys to talk about AI.
I've also would like to add to the previous question. So the most important thing in fundraising is to build relationships upfront. So for example, in our case, we've built relationships 9 months before we even decided to fundraise. And that's why it helped us to close the round in 2 months after we've started doing it. So it's really important just to start talking about yourself, about your team, even with like no revenue, MVP, etc., etc.
Yeah, there's a statement in the Valley which is, if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money. And I think that aligns with what you're talking about.
About AI, so we started building our product in the age of AI, and we started from course authoring tool. And as soon as we've launched it, I've seen so many cases when ChatGPT launches an update, and it kills a lot of products, only because it launched something new. And I do remember when we argued with my co-founder, I said she wanted to make this product as best as possible, and I said, we need to skip it. We need to add more and more products inside. Otherwise, we don't know when it happens, but it happens one day. And AI, it's good for people to launch your product, etc. And it's bad for startups when you count on a single product, which can be like developed by Claude. Like I personally know some of the startups which experience a lot of problems right now only because Claude launched an update. And I think that in our case, every single product is AI-based, and we have already 5 products. And now we start to fix them, just remove bugs, etc. But we run so fast to make these 5 products, and we understand it's difficult to replace us. And second of all, I suggest going B2B because I think that certifications help you a lot to protect your product because you need to have SOC 2, GDPR compliant, etc. And wipe-coded products cannot do right now this certification, cannot help you to get them. So you feel a bit safer. So AI both helps you and sometimes it can destroy you. That's what you should think about.
I remember 2 more things. One is the importance of a clear story, because you don't have 15 minutes to explain what you're doing, but you need to be super easy to understand for everybody to understand you. And that was the journey of 1 year for us to really nail that story. And what Stan said, that he was able to close the round in 2 months, building and contacting and building that network prior to the fundraising is crucial. And then you open the round, you let everybody in, and then collect the checks. On the AI side, we view AI as just another tool that helped us to speed the development. It was mechatronics, then it was cloud and the computer, now it's the AI, right? So we apply it to everywhere possible. including our own internal technology, which, 300% faster country coverage for us. Now internal AI agents support, and then soon we are also launching an AI agentic integration product for the integrations to happen directly with the AI. So we're AI maxing.
All right, so let's wrap up by talking about the benefits of being in this region. What advantages did building in this region give you, and what would you not trade for having been here?
Maybe I'll mention 2 points. Yeah. One is that I think that people in this region, I'm from this region, so very hardworking. I think that we had a history of political instability, so that we always need to prove ourselves, and like people really work hard, and work ethic is really good. This is first, and second, I think like strong engineering school and like mathematics. I think this is something that is like I see quite concentrated in this region. But on top, we need to be like good sellers as well.
I would say that in this region, in US, you can sell your idea and get fundraising, right? In this region, you should prove that it works. And it's good and bad. It's good because you already have something working. And it helps you just to scale faster when you've received fundraising. And second of all, this region, as I've already mentioned, it helped us to get pretty many big enterprises from Europe, but we've started from this market. And also, it helped us because we are alumni of 500 Global, and I think this program helped us a lot. I don't know if you could get in US part of this program, but I think that some of our employees even say that, my teammates, that this program boosted us a lot last year.
500 Eurasia, yeah. I wouldn't change that one. My startup is building, solving local compliance. So having a lot of small markets with each own separate legislation is beautiful for us. So without that, we wouldn't exist. So wouldn't trade that one. On a serious note, I think what Dima mentioned, hardworking people, hearted people. I wouldn't trade that one for any beautiful packaging and rotten inside.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for sharing your insights.
Thank you.
was a really insightful panel. I don't know about you all, but I was definitely taking notes backstage. So thanks again so much for panelists for your awesome insights. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but we're moving on to the final batch of tonight's demo day. And so get ready to get your energy really high, because this next set of founders is going to wrap us up on a super high note. And so let's just dive right in. So our next founder was talking about AI back in 2018. He sold his first fintech company when he was just 22 years old and has spent 10,000 hours playing Dota 2. He told me that it's exactly 10,000 hours because I tried to approximate it and he's like, no, 10,000 hours. So this means that he really understands not only AI, but also real-world competition. So please give a really warm welcome to Nurdias Aitbayev of MyBots.
Ladies and gentlemen, 7 months in, we've hit 240K ARR, and we're growing 25% months over months. How? Because every sales software on the market tries to fix one part of a bigger problem. First, a better CRM. Next, another chatbot or a faster, smarter outreach tool. We replace this entire stack in your sales teams. You describe your business, define the goals, and pick the channel. And your AI agent will automatically find you an ideal customer, qualify the lead, send them personalized commercial offer, and close the deal, all in less than 5 minutes. Our solution is so robust that 147 businesses across 4 regions already hit a close rate of 23%, compared to an industry average of 5 to 10. And we are charging by results, per lead handled, per meeting booked, or per deal closed. If our AI agent does not perform, we don't earn. And we are targeting $1 trillion market, the global cost of human sales teams that my bots replace. I'm a second-time founder with a previous exit, and Shahmir, a competitive programming champion who architected the entire platform. And we are official tech partners of Meta, ByteDance, TikTok, and Lion. And we are not building the future of sales. We are already running it.
Have just one impressive chapter in their career. Our next founder has enough to fill a whole trilogy. When he was just 25 years old, he built a restaurant chain from the ground up into 50 locations. And now he's an AI founder. Please welcome Vadim Bortnik of Maycall.
InDrive replaced the entire human debt collection team with our AI. They are rolling us out across 48 countries. At Alvas, a top Mexican lender, our AI delivered $600,000 in additional recovery. They trusted us because I know exactly where the human breaks and the AI performs. I know it because I ran a 170-person debt collection team. And people were hard to train. The best collectors were burned out fast, and debtors got unpersonal outreach and one-size-fits-all offers. The debt recovery rate stayed flat. Maycall is a self-learning debt collection system that trains on every conversation. Our AI agents call, negotiate, secure a promise to pay, and then follow up via WhatsApp until the money lands. Today, our customers get up to 28% better debt recovery, 32% higher contact rate, and 76% lower staff cost. Debt collection is a $30 billion market, and we already live in Mexico, Ukraine, Romania, and Spain. We are starting with 4,000 microcredit lenders across LATAM and Europe, the segment with the highest collection volume. Our business model is based on a fixed monthly subscription plus pay-as-you-go for minutes and messages. Today, we have 14 customers, $28,000 in MRR, and we are growing 15% month over month. We have experience exactly where it matters: debt collection, call centers, voice AI, banking, enterprise sales, and international delivery. Last month, Maycall collected over $6 million for one company alone. There is $60 trillion in personal debt out there waiting for my call to collect it.
Well, some people like to climb mountains. Other people like to lead 200-person teams. Our next founder, she looked at both and decided, you know what, I'm going to do both of them. Please join me in welcoming Mariam Kharazashvili from Klinova.
Nine months. This is how long it takes to find patients for a clinical trial in emerging markets. Hospitals burn critical capital while patients wait for life-saving treatments. Why? Because doctors have to manually screen thousands of medical records, which are many unstructured or handwritten in the legacy databases, trying to find patients that may qualify for a trial. And as a result, 80% of hospitals miss patient enrollment deadlines, sponsors pull the trial, and hospitals lose hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. Patients exist. It's just hospitals can't find them fast enough. That's why we've built Klinova. Our AI reads every patient record in any format, including handwritten and multilingual, and identifies eligible patients in minutes, not months. For instance, we had a recent migraine trial where Klinova found 4,000 eligible patients in just 2 hours. The same process, if it was done manually, would have taken at least half a year. In 5 months, with 0 customer acquisition spent, we've launched 6 pilots across 1 million patient records and signed 22 LOIs worth $1.2 million. Clinical trial volume in emerging markets has exploded since 2022, yet 85% of sites still screen by hand because no existing tool works with their data. We do. That's a $10 billion opportunity across 200,000 trial-active sites. Eka ran 35 clinical trials across Eastern Europe, and her network is exactly what got us these 6 pilots and 22 LOIs in just 5 months. Basil shipped AI at tech giants and OIC-backed startups. And I am a second-time founder who also used to lead operations at Boeing. And we not only help hospitals to 5x their clinical revenue, but give millions of patients access to life-saving treatments.
This next founder has a master's degree in Buddhist philosophy. He's a self-taught violinist, and he also leads workshops at DeepMind. If that sounds like an atypical founder profile, you're kind of right. Please welcome to the stage Iran Dror of Evermuse.
Engineers are 10 times faster with AI. But data shows that 80% of features being built right now will never be used. That's because AI did not make us any better at deciding what to build. In fact, it made us worse. With everything accelerating, product teams struggle to find the time to listen to customers without becoming a bottleneck. Conversations pile up fast, hundreds or even thousands of calls, emails, chats, and tickets. Far more than generic AI tools can handle without hallucinating, let alone learn from. So teams often resort to the loudest voices or to subjective vibes. That's why we built Evermuse, a dedicated AI agent for product teams. Evermuse listens to every customer interaction, sales calls, support chats, emails, tickets, and more, learning continuously and highlighting every pattern that matters. It then shapes these insights into code-ready feature specs that AI coding agents love. And because it's a true agent like Claude Cowork, it goes further, filing tickets for you or identifying gaps between what was built and what was requested. In short, doing everyday product tasks for you. Early results are promising. In the last 90 days, 60% of our demos convert to pilots. Our usage grew 10 to 30% week over week. And customers reported 12 times faster time to market on requested features. This is a huge opportunity. It's a $44 billion market, growing at 11% annually. 1 million PMs live with this problem every day, and more join as AI coding explodes. I'm Eran Dror. I spent 20 years in product. I've built and designed products that went on to raise $300 million, and I sold my last company to Motorola. Zach led growth at his last company, taking it from $1 million to $13 million. And Adam was an early engineer at some of Europe's top developer platforms. Engineering is 10 times faster with AI. Product is the next bottleneck. We are the only agent designed to close this gap.
Well, we're coming up on the final founder of this evening, so last but certainly not least, this next founder earned his first paycheck at the ripe old age of just 14. Eventually, he helped bring AI and quantum computing to customers at Microsoft, and somehow still found the time in between to become a debate champion and a CrossFit enthusiast. Please join me in welcoming Umid Akhmedov of Tezbor.
Since 2023, we've processed over 600,000 parcels, and we hit $1.7 million in ARR. After joining 500 Global Acceleration Program, we've been growing 40% month over month in Uzbekistan. Let me tell you how. More than 40% of online orders are canceled due to high delivery costs in Central Asia. That's $4 billion in lost revenue opportunities for retailers per year. And we fix it. My name is Umid, and I present to you Tezbor, AI-powered delivery platform that helps online retailers increase sales by leveraging on independent drivers and existing parcel shop network. Parcel shops are corner shops that are used as pick-up and drop-off points. Since independent drivers provide door-to-door delivery speed, this hybrid model allows us to cut shipping costs by half while improving convenience for end users. While traditional delivery companies offer solutions only in or between big cities, Tezbor does both, door-to-door, even between big cities. Our AI optimizes routes, decentralizes parcel distribution, and coordinates between drivers, parcel shops, and receivers, all in real time. And retailers love Tezbor for scalable, faster, and cheaper deliveries. Big players like Ozon, B-Market, and Beeline can now ship 10 times more, sell nationwide, and reduce delivery errors by 61%. And we have over 500 customers just like them. Our 70% gross margin is backed by multi-sided, volume-based marketplace. We've signed partnerships in Kazakhstan and have already onboarded paying clients in Denmark. And today, on this stage of Global 500 Demo Day, I would like to make an exclusive announcement. We just bought a delivery company in Uzbekistan that will double our MRR from next month. Because we have the right expertise to do that. I led Data and AI Architecture Unit at Microsoft. Madamin has worked with UN's global operations, and Kudrat has built solutions for HP. In Uzbek, Tezbor means go fast. Here at Tezbor, fast deliveries drive fast growth.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe it, but we have made it to the conclusion of tonight's prepared programming. Can we give a warm round of applause to the incredible founders who presented today? Let's also give a warm round of applause to the partners and sponsors who made tonight happen, as well as the entire 500 Global Eurasia Demo Day team, including the mentors and the coaches who made everything come together so smoothly. And I hope that if you come away with anything, is this idea that talent is truly available anywhere you look. We just need to pay enough attention to make sure that we can really capitalize on those opportunities. Now, before I dismiss you from this incredible venue, I have just 2 more asks for you tonight, and they both require QR codes and just a little bit more of your attention. So first, we're excited to announce that applications for the 11th batch of the 500 Global Eurasia Demo Day are now open. So if you're a founder or you know a founder who wants to be up on this very same stage in December of this year, please take a moment to scan this QR code or share it with someone who you think might be interested. The second QR code that we're putting up here is for anyone who is an investor, an operator, or just someone who wants to get to know the entire portfolio of 500 Global Eurasia. You can access the companies via this Airtable link here. Now, while tonight's prepared remarks are concluded, we would like to join you for our networking reception downstairs. So feel free to mingle, talk to the founders about their song choices and their fun facts. I know they're really, really excited to talk to you. And founders, coaches, speakers, everyone that was involved with tonight's programming, please come on stage so we can do one final photo. And thank you all so very much for your attention and your time tonight.